One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the Profit Podcast today for a special bonus episode. So I love it whenever I get to bring really fun conversations to you, especially whenever they involve my mentor, Amy Porterfield. So she is back on the podcast today, and this is actually her fourth time to be on the show. I had to go back and count. I was like, wait, has she really been on the podcast that many times? Yes, she has. She is quickly becoming the top contender for the Hall of Fame here on the Profit Podcast. But I wanted to chat with Amy about really bringing a message to this audience about monetization and AI. Because these are things that I know you want to know about. You want to know, how can you monetize your content, and what does it look like to outsource some of the tasks of getting the next product that you're going to create off the ground. And we had some incredible behind the scenes, like stuff you haven't heard before from Amy is being shared in today's episode. And it was fantastic. I love it when she comes on and she's so candid and raw, and she's just so much fun. I totally nerd out in this episode and we had a blast. So I hope that you enjoy today's episode with Amy Porterfield. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach you how to start, launch, and market your content with confidence. I'm your host, Crystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, because if you've been trying to figure out the world of content creation, this is the show that will help be your time-saving shortcut. So let's get right to it, shall we? All right, Profit Podcast listeners, we have someone on the show today who's been here not once, not twice, I don't even think three. This may be your fourth time on the show. And so you are quickly in the running for like Hall of Famer. I mean, let's just call it what it is. This is incredible. Welcome to the show, Amy. So happy
Well,
to have you.
I'm so happy to be here, Crystal. Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this. You know that you're an OG in our community. We love you so much. You've helped so many of our students in our communities. So when I saw your name on the list, I'm like, oh, I'm excited about this one. So
Oh,
thanks again.
I'm so happy. And for anybody that's just listening, we have to call this out first and foremost. If you cannot see what I have on today, Amy, can you please read
Yes.
this shirt for
Okay.
them?
So her shirt says, if you're multitasking, come back to me, which if it was a drinking game in my community, people would be pretty tipsy because it's
Oh my
something I
God.
say all the time. And I have to say, this is why I know Crystal so well, like why she's always been special to me. I didn't know her at one of my live events many, many, many years ago. And I walked up to take pictures with people and I looked at Crystal and this is what her shirt said. I'm like, wait a second, this girl gets me. And so it was just so fun. So the fact that you still have the shirt makes me so happy.
Well, I'm so glad that this turned out to be like such a beautiful part like of our story because I
Yes.
feel like it could have been like, who's this crazy chick? Like security, we need to get her out of here as fast as
No.
possible.
I say it all the time. I literally said it today on a podcast I was recording. So it is just something I can't help it.
Oh, so, and I've told your team, I'm like, I don't know where the t-shirts are. Like, I mean, this is the original one. So sorry, you cannot have I mean, this is going and it's going to be in a shadow box one day. Maybe, maybe I'll send it to you,
Please
as the Hall
do.
of Fame,
We
but
need to create some merch. We got to get that on one
so,
of the shirts for sure.
oh my gosh. Well, this is so fun. I am grateful to have you back on the show, especially because, I mean, I just recently saw you. So for anybody, if you're a regular listener of the show, then you know that I saw Amy speak at Craft and Commerce earlier this summer. So it really hasn't been that long since we've seen each other, but there's
No.
been so many big things that you've done since you were last on the podcast. So I want to talk about this little ditty right here. And I'm holding up Amy's New York
Ooh,
Times best-selling book, two
you
weeks
got one with the
notice.
sticker.
I
I
got the
love it.
sticker. Oh, and for anybody too, I actually got Amy to sign it. So this
Okay,
one's mine.
I love that because I do have to give Crystal a shout out. She helped create a book signing session at the event, which was so incredibly generous of you because I have major anxiety for those things, never want to do them, would never plan them myself. But then when I get there, I'm so happy we do it and I got to meet some amazing people. So first of all, thanks for helping me do that. That was all you and I so appreciate it. But yes, I'm just really excited about this book. It was something that I've wanted to put out into the world forever. And I just believe that there's so many people out there that deserve to have the freedom of entrepreneurship. And if I could encourage people to leave behind a 9 to 5 job they don't want to be in anymore and just step into being their own boss, like I would love to show you the way. So that's why I wrote the book.
Oh, it's so, so good. So, I mean, we're going to have links to Amy's book in the show notes because it's so good. I actually have multiple copies and I got Amy to sign in person. So we're going to do something fun with that. So stay tuned in the
So
future
cool.
for some giveaways. But one of the things while we're talking about your book, and my audience is content creators, podcasters, they're looking at starting a YouTube channel. And I'm curious, as someone, I mean, you've had a podcast since 2013, right? Is that when you first put out episodes?
Yep. That's
I
when it started.
I'm so curious because the way that you went about marketing the book is you're like, I have to get on podcast. I know that this is the way it's time, like you have time to be at home in your office to do it instead of traveling all over the world. I know you did some traveling for it, but I'm just so curious. What was that experience like being on podcasts specifically to market your book and not just your general business?
Yeah, everyone told me that in order to get this book out into the world, more important than PR, more important than even like my email list or the traditional things I typically do, because I wanted to attract a new audience, not just the audience I had. They said, every successful bookseller said, you got to get on podcasts. That is the way to go. It's like the new PR. And so I made this goal. I wanted to be on 100 podcasts by the time that book came out. And you had to be strategic about it because I wanted to make a play for the New York Times list. And so those podcasts needed to come out the week before or the week of. And so orchestrating like all of the scheduling, shout out to my executive assistant, Christine. We call her Queenstein. She killed it. It was a lot of organizing and figuring things out, and links flying here and there and all of that. Best thing I could have done though, because you're right. I did travel, but I didn't do tons of travel for it. And I didn't do a book tour. Like I wasn't in bookstores signing books. So this was the main thing and it made a huge difference.
Oh man. And I love hearing that because you had to get out of your comfort zone to say, I'm going to do 100. I'm going to do 100 and so the reason why I bring this up and I wanted to talk about it is because I feel like, people know your name. They know you as an industry expert, the go-to person for digital courses, but you're still getting out there and putting yourself in these uncomfortable situations. Yeah. And how did it pay off? What is your book today? Is it a New York Times bestseller?
It is a New York Times bestseller, which I'm very proud about. But I love that you bring that up. So when I used to work for Tony Robbins, he used to tell this story about the importance of getting uncomfortable. Like there's no growth in the comfort. You have to be uncomfortable. And he told this story about this person building a business and every day they were uncomfortable. And when I look back 14 years ago, every single day I was uncomfortable. I've always been resistant to get on video. That was a big journey for me to finally get on video and putting myself out there and social media. I'm not super savvy at social media. All of that feels awkward to me. In fact, just last week, my social media gal came to my house in Nashville and she shot video all day. And it was a joke how much I hated it. Like she shot B-roll where I'm making coffee or talking to Hobie. I'm like, this is so awkward. I hate it. But I know that it's important to engage with my audience. So I'm a big fan of being uncomfortable a lot. I do believe that that is where the growth is. So the worst part about being on 100 interviews beyond just exhaustion is I had to ask. I had to ask these people, will you have me on your podcast? That was uncomfortable. I did not love that part, but I had a goal in mind. I wanted this book to get out to as many people as possible and change lives. So I was willing to get uncomfortable. So I guess the question is for your listeners, where are you willing to get uncomfortable to get what you really want in your business, in your life? Like, are you willing to be uncomfortable more than you are comfortable? And if you value comfort over growth, you will not see your business thrive. And that part is really important to know.
So this is what happens when you get Amy on your podcast, because she's like, oh, you wanted a mic drop moment? Is that really what you want? You so early in the game? Like you're just throwing them all over the place already. And we haven't even gotten to the core of what we're talking about here today. So this is so incredible. And this is what I think that people really showed up for you in your book launch because you've been so generous over the years and you're not someone that's always like, oh, I just need one more thing and I need one more thing. Like you are such a giver and you are so, I guess, like the perfect example of what it looks like to be generous and to be value and serving your audience, even if they never become a customer or there's someone that is like, I think it's karma. Really. It's one of those like just principles that I think that you live by and you do it so well. So yeah,
thank you, my friend.
It's so awesome. So awesome. Well, I do want to switch gears because we are here today to talk about digital courses. I know it is your favorite thing to talk about. I mean, yes. Is there anything else in the, no. Come on. There's nothing else.
My husband, he would say, please stop talking about courses, but I can't.
Okay. Well, since you brought Hobie up, has he taken a course? Has he ever taken an online course in?
Great question. I think just in the fire department, he did take when he was a firefighter, he had to take a lot of courses online to learn what he needed to learn, but he's never been like, so he's big into hunting and working out and stuff like that. And I've never seen him say like, I'd like to take a digital course, but the guy can't sit still for 5 minutes. So I can't even imagine it would ever work, but that's a funny question. I actually need to change that. I need to get him to take a digital course.
You do like find something. You're like, here's my husband. He just took a fly fishing trip and he was like, should I get a course? And I'm like, I've done something right. Like, and I was showing him, I was like, look, go find this guy on YouTube. And then look, you can see like, oh, he's got a lead magnet. And I'm speaking all this language that he's like, I don't even know what you're talking about, but I want to go. I like this guy. Like, so can you leave me alone? Like, I'm trying to learn fly fishing. And I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. I'm just nerding
I
out
got a
about
little
all,
crazy there.
I got a little nuts. It's fine. But I do want to talk about the audience that's listening to the show. So I was letting before we started recording that I have such a beautiful blend of people that listen to the Profit Podcast. And it's a lot of people that are finding me and they're like, oh, I would love to have a podcast one day. And then there's another segment that they already have a podcast and now they're ready to monetize, but they don't know how. And so the first question that I wanted to ask you is if someone's listening right now and they're just getting started. So let's kind of blend the two of those together. Someone that's in the first 6 to 12 months of content creation, whether it's a podcast or a YouTube channel, how difficult is it to get started with the course? Do they need to go do something else first and then they can work in a course? Or like, what does the perfect journey look like? I guess I don't even like to use the word perfect, so let's scratch that. What does the right journey look like?
It's so different for so many of my students. And I look at my success stories and I have thousands and thousands of students who have successful digital courses and their journeys look so different. Some of them have come from one-on-one coaching, consulting. That's what they did in their business, but they knew that they couldn't trade time for dollars and scale a business. And they knew they were tied to these clients and they wanted more freedom. So they created a digital course either to take over one-on-one or to totally supplement. But when you have done one-on-one coaching or consulting, it is easy to translate that into a course because you know what people need, what they want, what they've struggled with. So like Adia, one of my students, she's a psychologist. She taught people, or she had a practice where they came in and she worked with them, but then she created a digital course to supplement that income. And she was able to have a thriving digital course business while also still seeing people in her practice. But when she had a child, she was able to step away and still have income coming in. So that there's that freedom in that lifestyle. But a lot of my students have not done one-on-one work. And quite honestly, they don't want to. It's not for them. So really what it comes down to is you figuring out what your 10% edge is. It's figuring out where you've gotten results for yourself or for somebody else. And now are you willing to build out the roadmap and teach people how you got those results? You don't need to have had years of one-on-one work to create a digital course. You just need to be willing to teach people how you got those results. And I say 10% because a lot of my students think they need more time, more experience, certifications, more education. That is not true. Think about who you would love to learn from. Someone that's just a few steps ahead of you, that's relatable. They've been in the trenches. They've done the work. They've gotten results you want. Now they're willing to show you the behind the scenes intel to get the same results. That's who you want to learn from. So don't think you need to be light years ahead of your students.
Yeah. And this is so good. And Amy, I actually was just talking about this the other day, how I had to make this mindset shift of the 10% edge, because whenever I was just getting started, I had just found you and, was learning about you and listening to your podcast. And I remember thinking, yeah, but I'm not a Pat Flynn. So, Pat, and, him and I have a very similar message in trying to get people to share their message through a podcast and create content and use affiliate marketing and courses to generate revenue. And I remember thinking, I'm not Pat. I don't have Pat's audience. And it held me back for a long time. I was undercharging. I was not playing a big game. I know that one of your messages is being a big deal and showing up. And it really took me a long time to just kind of step into that and say, I don't have to have the millions of downloads and the millions of followers in order to really make an impact. So do you have a message to someone that's like really grappling with that today?
Yes. The first thing is, I love that you brought up Pat because he's our mutual friend. And at one point, Pat also wasn't Pat Flynn. He didn't have the big audience. He wasn't making the big money with his digital courses, but there was something in him that thought, I want something different. I want to be my own boss. I want to be of value to other people. I want to be a go-to source. So he had to just get going, and he started with creating content and putting it out into the world. Remember that everybody we compare ourselves to literally were not the people they are years ago. And so all of us have to start from the beginning. And some people don't want to learn from Pat. And Pat's like a dear friend, but some people want to learn from you, Crystal, that you have something special and relatable that they want to learn from you. So we choose who we want to learn from based on loyalty and trust and watching them show up. So just know that you have to have a mindset. There's enough to go around for everyone. When I first started on the scene 14 years ago, I taught Facebook marketing. At that time, and still to this day, Mari Smith is the queen of Facebook marketing. That woman to this day is still dominating that industry. I came on, she actually was a teacher of mine, taught me what I needed to know to do it on my own. But if I looked and said, Mari Smith is already teaching Facebook marketing, there's no place for me, I wouldn't be here 14 years later, $85 million in course sales, helping 50,000 students create their own courses and businesses if I believed that she was the only one who could do it. And so we have to remember that people want to learn from us, just like they want to learn from Pat and Mari and the other people. You've got to believe that there's a space for you. And I'll get off my soapbox in a minute, you have to believe you deserve it. You deserve the kind of success that Pat has and all these other people that you're watching online. You deserve it just as much as they do. And you have to remember that.
Oh, this again. I mean, I need to have one of those podcasts that has the sound effects where it's like beep, 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 like the DJ where it's like, my job.
Yes.
Beep, beep, beep.
I love it.
Because it's so good and it's so true. And there's so many people that I know that they are struggling with this. So to hear that practical advice, and I think that this is another reason why I have really been drawn to be part of your community and, just keep coming back for more and all the things that you're teaching, because it's practical. It's very practical. You're giving us courage. You're giving people frameworks. Oh, we could talk about frameworks all day, every day. Oh my gosh. We're going to get real nerdy in a second about some frameworks, but it just goes back to, you're not asking someone to be somebody that they're not, or show up in a way that is it's not inauthentic to who they actually are. And I think that that's so important, because there's just so much spammy, gross stuff that happens on the internet. And I think that, the principles that you teach, the things that you and your team put out into the world are just constantly, you can do this. Look at all of these different people. So I don't know if I've ever asked you this question, but what is the genre or the course that really stands out as like, I can't believe that this is what people create, or like, this is what people have a course about? Is there something that pops into your mind?
There's one that is very odd to me that I just love. One of my students created a course. Now I always get the name wrong, so I apologize, but it's something like this, like baby elimination or something like that. It's to potty train a newborn baby, meaning that newborn baby never wears diapers. From the beginning, they are literally potty trained. I've never had a child of my own. I have a stepson that I love dearly, but I don't know how that works. But something elimination. And she works like 3 days a week. She's made millions from her course, and then certifying other people to teach this method that she did with her kids. And here's the cool thing about it. So potty training newborns, yes, very odd. But what I love about this is what she did with her kids. She had learned it in a few different ways. She perfected it. She put her own spin on it. Now she teaches it. That's what I mean by the 10% edge. Wouldn't you love to learn this from a mom who's done it with her 3 kids and can tell you the good, bad, and ugly of it? That's the relatable 10% that I'm talking about.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is definitely one. As someone who has 3 kids, I'm like, can you do this for like the older kids too? Because I'm like, we need to have a conversation about that. But
I remember Cade being in grade school and we still having problems. He'd die if he heard me say that. But I hear you, sister.
So I'm like, can we teach the teenagers to clean up after themselves too? Like, we need a course for that,
okay,
please.
This is too TMI, but literally yesterday, I told my 50-year-old husband, babe, you've got pee all over the floor. We don't have kids anymore. It's you. It's not me.
It's you.
Yeah. So he's like, what are you talking about? So it's even with the adults, but we're moving on.
Oh my gosh. And it's like, don't blame it on Scout. Okay. Like we know.
He would blame it on Scout, for the record. I'm not buying it.
Well, now that I'm thinking about, okay, we've talked about the 10% edge. We've talked about using the message that you already have, but someone is listening to this and they're like, okay, I think I might be ready, but what's the sign? Like, do the clouds part and you get that ray of sunshine that comes down and say, you are ready for a digital course? Like, how do you know? Is there a magical number of audience members that you're looking for? Is there a stage of your business that someone should wait until that happens? Like, what piece of advice would you give to someone thinking about that?
This is a great question. I've never been asked it. So I got to take a moment and think like, is there a moment that you just know? And if I think about all the students I've worked with, I would say 90% of them felt like they weren't ready. And I think that's important for you all to hear in the sense of, I don't know if you're ever totally certain. I recently did a survey to my students and my non-students, like people thinking about creating a course, but they haven't yet. And we asked a lot of questions. And one of the things I learned from this survey of thousands of people taking it is that they are very unsure if it's going to work. And so they don't create it. They want a course, they've thought about it, but they're so terrified that if I do all this work and it doesn't work, what does that mean about me? So it stops them in their tracks. And also a lot of them will say, I don't know if I have enough content. I don't know if I don't even know how to teach inside of a digital course. So all these things come up. Now, as a side note, because I'm not here to sell my course, but I teach all of that. Like I know every objection that comes up and I address every single one of them in my course. But the more important thing here is to know that you've got to start even if you're not ready. If you feel as though you're looking for more freedom, you want a way to make consistent revenue, you want opportunities to open up for you. So here's the things you need to think about. Do you feel stuck? Do you feel like you're not making enough money no matter how hard you try? Do you feel as that the opportunities you see other people getting, you're not getting? Well, that's what a course can do for you. If you ask people, I want to create a digital course, who would you suggest I learn from? This is not arrogance. This is years of work. I can guarantee you my name's going to be at the top of a list of 5 people. And so I do that because I have a course that put me on the map. So a digital course opens up doors to opportunities that you don't have right now. So if you feel stuck, if you feel stagnant, if you feel that there's more for you out there, if you want more freedom, consistent revenue, these are desires that you have, at least explore creating a digital course because those are the results, the benefits I've seen from my students.
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants.
Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
Yeah. And it's funny because when you're talking and we're thinking about, is there a right time? What does that look like? I was thinking about my own journey and you teach this method of, getting all of your ideas out of your head onto paper, onto Post-it notes more specifically.
Post-it notes, yes.
But you teach this method. And now that I think about it, it wasn't until I did that. And we're talking about minutes. We're not talking about hours and hours of doing this. I went from, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not ready. I don't have anything to offer to all of a sudden I'm looking at basically a wall of information that's like, this would be a great idea. This is valuable. This is absolutely teachable. You do know this really well. And if you were to track, like if there was a meter of confidence, like it would grow kind of like the Grinch. I'm thinking about like the Grinch's heart's growing 4 more sizes. That's what happens when you learn from someone like Amy. And she says, this is all you have to do. If you're struggling with this, here, I have an exercise for that. I have a framework for that. And I just think that's one of the exercises that it's just so valuable. So valuable.
Yes, I teach this thing called a Post-it note party, and it's to get all your ideas out of your head and onto your wall so you could see what is possible. And I do a boot camp where I do a version of that as well. And that is absolutely what is going to spark your ideas and think, wait, this is doable. Also, you asked a question like, should your audience size be a certain amount before you start a course? And yeah, I do believe you need an email list in order to have a successful digital course launch. Notice I said launch, meaning there's two parts that I teach. First, how to create a course from scratch. Everything you need to include, modules, lessons, videos, all that stuff, your content, and then launching it. While you're creating your course, I want you to also grow your email list. And it's something that I teach my students to do at the same time. And you want 500 people on your email list. That's what I want you to go for. Do my students break the rules? And did my student just launch with 75 people on her email list? She did. And she actually had great results. But it's easier the bigger your list gets. So your first milestone, 500 people on your email list. You can grow your list while you're creating your course.
Yeah. And I love that you teach this too. And you hit on something that's so important. And so I don't want to brush past it. It's not just about creating a course and this is same with content, right? Like, I think that this is what helps me stand out in the way that I teach content. I could teach you all the methods to create something absolutely incredible, amazing. It has the best lighting and it has the best sound. But if you don't know how to talk about it, or you don't know how to tell people that it is the right thing for them, it's not ever going to grow. So I love that you point this out. And I have to say, I've taken multiple courses over the years of being an entrepreneur, and I go back to DCA. Like I'm totally going to embarrass myself, but I rewatch the program at least once a year from like soup to nuts, the entire thing. And I was actually just telling someone, I had a call the other day with someone on Team Porterfield. They were asking me, they're like, stay tuned, by the way, I'm going to have like a testimonial in the future. It's going to be so good. So good. But they were asking like, what did that really look like? And, have you finished DCA? And I was like, have I not only finished DCA, I have gone through the program at least once a year. And anytime I want to do a webinar, I go back and watch that over and over and over again. And this is actually the next question that I have for you, because I see Instagram ads, all kinds of like weird ads that are out there like webinars are dead, webinars are terrible, and they're no longer a thing. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Do you see this stuff? Like, what are your thoughts about it?
It's so funny. I think that one of the things that's really popular and trendy right now is hooks. It's always marketing 101. You've got to have a good hook, but people are really going for it, meaning webinars are dead, or AIs will create a course in 10 minutes, or these crazy headlines that I just have to laugh at now. But for people that don't know, if they're new on the scene, they're going to believe some of those. And I want you to be careful to not believe everything you see online, even if it's coming from someone that you think might have had results in that area. And here's why I say that. Webinars specifically are literally the way that thousands of my students have had huge success with their courses. To this day, like yesterday, today, they're still doing webinars. And the reason why they work is, one, they know the framework of what a high converting webinar will do. I teach it slide by slide by slide. But more importantly, and just in general, webinars allow you to earn the right to sell. And so when you get on a webinar, I always have this motto: no matter if they buy or not, they walk away feeling inspired, excited, and driven to take action. And so when they get on a webinar with me, or the way I teach it to my students, so my students do this too, we give immense value for like a good 40 minutes. No matter if you buy or not, you walk away thinking, Amy delivered on her promise. I now know information I didn't know before I came here, and it's valuable. But then I say, okay, if you're ready to take the next step, here it is. It's my course. And that transition is so easy. I don't feel salesy or scared about mentioning my course, because I know it's the next logical step for those that are ready. And so that is why the power of webinars works so well. And a lot of people want to skip them. They want to just, I'm going to create a course and just put it on social. They don't really have an email list. Or if they do, I'm going to send it out to my email list. And what I'll say is, number one, you will very much struggle to see sales. And two, even if you see sales, you have left a lot of money on the table. So it's going that extra mile, putting yourself out there, getting uncomfortable in order to really see the kind of success that is possible for you.
Yeah. And I have to say, I feel like, for the example of just selling on social, I personally am starved for some of that longer form content. Like I'm kind of over the 15-second bite size, like, oh, that's cute. But did I learn anything? Did it sit? I have a confession to make. I watched a webinar today. I registered for, it was for Stacy Tushel. So shout out.
Okay.
She has,
that girl knows how to do webinars.
Yes, she is incredible. I watched her webinar today and I was thinking, this is someone I've listened to her podcast. I follow her on social. And I heard stories of not only her and her personal journey, but I heard stuff on this webinar that I'm like, I've been following her forever. I didn't know any of this stuff about her business, about her student testimonials. And so I 100% agree with you that it's like, you can't just give people these bite-sized pieces because everyone is, especially on Instagram, I'm thinking of, because I know you're really active on Instagram. I'm active on Instagram. There's so much swiping. There's so much swiping going on that you think, oh, I had so many thousands people watch my reel. And it's like, yeah. And they watched about 50 other ones right after that. So did it really sink in? So you have this finite amount of time to really catch someone's attention. And I think that with webinars, and especially the way that you teach webinars, because it's slide by slide by slide. I love the way, I hope that you don't think I'm making fun of you. No, I have a whole list of stuff. I was actually telling Jill, I was like, we need to go. Jill and I are going to start our own side hustle. Jill's on Amy's team. And I'll be like, I'll sit down with you. I'll be the t-shirt rep. I'll just go around the country selling Amy Porterfield t-shirts. I could absolutely do it. But okay, so we talked about what's working now. We talked about, webinars are not dead. They are absolutely here to stay.
Absolutely.
But I want to talk about AI, the keyword of 2023. It's the one that, we can't walk out the door without hearing about ChatGPT or something else happening. So what are your thoughts on AI? And is it something that you are looking at for course creation or something that you're like, we're just going to keep doing the tried and true methods?
I love AI. I'm a huge supporter of it. I've done a lot of research and really trying to figure out how is this going to help my students? Specifically, how will it help my students get their course created faster and get all the assets for their launch created faster? So when I mentioned earlier, what I really hate seeing is the headlines like create your digital course in 30 minutes or less using AI. I can promise you're going to create the most watered down, plain course with no stories, no experience, or none of your experiences, and lacking all your personality if you let AI generate a course for you. Do not do that. Biggest mistake. You will not be put on the map as a go-to source. Those opportunities will not come your way. However, here's how I want you to use AI, and here's how I'm teaching my students inside my own course. Use it as your digital course creation assistant, the ultimate assistant. And so let's say if you learned from me how to create courses and I teach you how to create the ultimate outline where it's not too much, it's not too little, and it's exactly what you need. Now you can plug in prompts into ChatGPT, and I give my students the prompts to flesh out all of that content, figure out what your audience really wants, and make it in your voice so it sounds like you and it has your personality. So using AI as a great assistant for developing course ideas, course topics, course lessons, I am all for it, helping you write an email. But if you don't know the nuances of what it takes to create and launch a course, and you try to get that all from AI, you are wasting your time. So use it wisely as your course assistant.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's like you could create this awesome content, even with the help of AI, but you still need to know how to sell it and talk about it. And this is what you do so well. And I know that there's people listening right now that are like, well, I want to know, like, where does Amy teach this stuff? And you actually have, when this episode goes live, we are leading up to a very special event. We have a boot camp coming up. So can you tell everybody about the boot camp and what they can expect?
Yes. So once a year, I do a very special boot camp called Course Confident. And in this boot camp, I get you started on your digital course journey, from coming up with the topic to validating it, to figuring out what type of course, to how much you're going to charge for it, how to use AI. I'll give you the prompts to get started in that way, and really just how to get started, the foundational pieces. Now, it's the cheapest thing I offer all year. It's $47 to get into this boot camp. All my trainings are live, but they're recorded in case you can't make it live. I do a bonus training where I teach you things that you weren't even expecting. It's really fun. I do pep talks in case imposter syndrome, doubt, fear get in the way. If you need a little pep talk, I'll be there. But I'm live in the group. It's your opportunity to see, do I like the way Amy teaches? Do I think she's delivering on her promise? Is this a girl that actually has the results that I want? Come get to know me and the way I teach, but more importantly, get started with your course. It's once a year and it's going to fill up, so you do not want to miss it.
Yes. And I am a proud partner with Amy and Team Porterfield, and I have an exclusive bonus if you sign up for the.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So yes, I'm doing a money mindset training for creators. I mean, we've brought this up so many times about confidence. So it's going to help you get ready for the boot camp so that you have your mindset right to say, I'm ready to create this course. I deserve to be paid for the things that I'm creating. Now, Amy, show me how to do it. So it's going to be I love the boot camps. Your team does such a great job.
It's my most favorite thing, but I love that you chose a bonus with money mindset, because a lot of my students get in there and they don't feel that they deserve to either be successful or charge what they want, or even what we talked about in the beginning, like other people are doing it. There's no place for me, so that they get stuck in not actually investing in their business or charging what they're worth. So I love that the money mindset is going to be part of the boot camp with you, because the two go hand in hand. You just build your confidence more quickly. So that's a perfect thing. But yeah, I'm very excited about this live boot camp.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun. Oh,
and you're going to be really active in it. I know you are, because you have been. One thing that's really fun about Crystal is she feels like she's part of my team. Like everyone on my team knows her, and she's incredibly helpful when people get stuck in my communities. So just know it won't just be me. Crystal will be there for sure.
I will be. I'll be there. I'll be like, and say, hey, Crystal, hey, Amy, Crystal sent me. And she's like, oh, hey, glad you're here. So come join us. Okay, Amy, I want to wrap up today, but I have 3 rapid fire questions that I have to ask you, because they are so important. So important. Now you're like, I'm sweating, Crystal. I don't know what you're talking about, because
I'm bad at rapid fire.
These are so good. What piece of advice would you give to a brand new podcaster?
Ooh, I love this. Every single week. I don't know if this goes against what you teach, but I think there should be a podcast out every single week. Rain or shine. It was the biggest mistake I made. I did not do that in the beginning.
Oh yes. No, we preach consistency around here. So you're spot on. Okay. The next one is, what is a dream podcast you would love to be on? And who is your dream podcast guest?
Ooh, okay. It makes absolutely no sense, but I would love to be on Brene Brown's podcast. Well, actually, no, because it doesn't make sense. Why would she have me on to talk about marketing? I would love to have her on my podcast. She'd be a dream guest. Or Michelle Obama. I mean, I shoot low, right? Like, no big deal. So I would love both of those women to come on my podcast. And then Hoda Coffee has a podcast that I would love to be on, because I like to talk about the mindset of entrepreneurship, and I think it would be a good fit for her show. So Hoda, give me a call.
Oh, this is so good. And actually, I didn't prep you about this beforehand, but I need to go back. I'll have to send you the audio clip, because in one of our previous interviews, we did a rapid fire and you said, I would love to talk to Ashley Flowers from Crime Junkie. So I'm just saying, you put it out into the universe and it has happened. So,
okay, that makes me so happy.
I'll have to find the audio clip. I'll send it to you.
That is too funny. Yep. Check. Did it.
Okay. My last question. Do you consider yourself a perfectionist?
I do not. And because I probably have been in the past, but now I know I just got to ship it. And people do not care if I said all the right things or it looks perfect. They just want the value. So my team, they are very good at, delivering high quality content, but I do not consider us being perfectionists.
Oh, this is so good. And I think that you do such an incredible job at delivering value, no matter what it is. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. And I will have links to everything, but y'all come come join us in the boot camp. Like, what would you say to someone that's thinking, should I do the boot camp? Should I not do it? What's some final words for them?
It's the ultimate way to decide if you want to create a digital course or not. So you're going to feel very certain at the end of the boot camp, am I doing this or not? For $47 to get that decision made, priceless.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Amy, for coming on the show today.
Thank you, Crystal. I so appreciate you having me. Take care.
Well, that was a fantastic ride, wasn't it? Oh my gosh, that was so incredible. I love when Amy comes on and she brings those practical steps. She brings lessons learned and just so many other incredible insights from having been in this business for a while and had the ups and the downs and the twists and the turns. And if you haven't listened to her podcast before, then I encourage you to go binge listen to it, because so much of the nuggets of wisdom from her journey are things that I see today, things that I have gone through myself. And having that mentorship, I actually think back to this one specific podcast episode that she did with Brooke Castillo. And I've mentioned it so many times on this podcast, but they talked about settling for B+ work. And just having that was such a release from the perfectionism that I was clinging onto in my journey in the very beginning. I was like, everything has to be perfect. I can't put anything out unless it's absolutely perfect, because I thought that that's how all the other big name creators were putting out content. But the truth is you just have to put it out there and get going. And I think it's the same with a digital course. I mean, I've shared so many times on here that my digital course, the very, very first one, was terrible. It was ugly. I still sold some, right? I still had sales. But now today, having been doing this for several years, I can see the mistakes that I was making in the beginning of my journey that I don't want you to make, which is why I'm going to encourage you, get signed up for Amy's bootcamp. It is $47 and it is 100% worth every single penny. They've done this for a few years now, and the bootcamp is a place for people to connect with other people. I quickly see that everyone's like, oh, I'm not alone in having these same questions, because we can get in our own head about, oh, I'm the only one struggling with how to price my course, or I'm the only one struggling with, well, I have this type of audience, but they say they want this product, but I want to create that. Like all of these kind of themes that happen with course creators, Amy's seen them all. She's been doing this for over a decade now, and she has seen the ups and the downs and the struggles from helping thousands upon thousands of people. And it's why I push so hard for you to learn from her, because she's the best. She's literally the best in the biz. And I want you to go get signed up for her bootcamp. So go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And for extra special treat, I'm actually throwing in a bonus for anybody that joins with my partner link. Yes, I'm an affiliate for Amy, and I have been for several years, again, which is why I always promote the bootcamp, because I believe that whether you sign up for her program, Digital Course Academy, in the future or not, I want you to get access to this first. Go through the bootcamp, see if creating a digital course is the next right step for you. But the bonus that I'm offering specifically to those of you that sign up for the bootcamp is a money mindset training for creators. So if you're like, Crystal, I don't really have that big of an audience. I don't know, is my thing going to make money? I don't know this. I don't know that about money. That's what this training is all about, because I want you to be in the right mindset for whenever you get into the bootcamp. Because if you can't really be confident that you are ready to make money, then creating a digital course isn't going to help you anyway. So this is a never before, I was going to say seen, it's an audio training. So it's a private podcast. It's not a video. It's never before listened to training. It's not repurposed. I created it specifically for the 2023 Course Confident Bootcamp buyers. So I want you to go check it out. Go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. Amy-bootcamp. And there's going to be a link in the show notes to check it out, but go sign up for the bootcamp. It's $47 and it's going to be so impactful for your first or your next digital course. But that's all I have for you today. Thanks for tuning in to today's bonus episode. It was so fun. I love it whenever I can bring you a special treat in the middle of your week. But that's all I have for you. So as always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. I wanted to get your reaction, first of all. I wanted you to be like, Amy, look. And then
it's my favorite. That shirt is my favorite. I remember the day that I saw it when we were at the live event. I'm like, who is that girl? Because that's my favorite shirt ever.
So funny.
I literally said those exact words on a podcast today. I'm like, how long have I been saying that? Oh my gosh, so good.
It was so fun. I could still remember telling Chloe and be like, all right, Chloe, you're going to think I'm just crazy random person. But I had this shirt made. She said, what does it say? And I told her, she said, put it on now. Cause I was asking her, I was like, do I wear it at the happy hour? Like, when do I bring it out? And she was like, you put it on right now. Go to your room, change. I want to see it. And so, yes, it's here. It's making a comeback. And
I love that you still have
big.
It.
It's too big. I'm like, oh,
you've been working out or something?
I guess so. I was like,
look
it's
at you.
XL. I need a medium now. Watch out.
I love it.
Hey, Profit Podcast listeners, thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Crystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Crystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.